I'll just send it to you as a PM, I guess. That's it.
Oh, use Soul Shield. I'll take that off. Switch it to that.
Let me know when you're in.
Yep, I'm in game now.
I still need your handle.
I send it to you as a PM.
So I'm gonna start. Doesn't look like we're gonna get anyone else right away.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Now this is a Q&A too, so if you guys have PvP questions, I can answer them as well. Mostly what I'm gonna have you guys do is practice fighting each other and maybe explain some stuff that helps increase your awareness of what it is you're doing.
Alright.
There we go. You can see the channel with no problems, right?
If you mean I can see this channel, then yes. So, Dread Pirate Bob, I'm gonna recommend you try fighting Nemia a few times. Now, as a heads up, rogues usually can't beat warlocks if they're equal in skill. Or it'll be, well, not exactly, like, warlocks will win more times, so you will win some of the time. But it will be kind of skewed in Nemia's favor, is my guess. But that is still good practice.
Come and fight me, Bob.
Fox, did you want to come to this?
I'm just making sure that everybody can see it, and I'm going to be going out of here in just a little bit. I couldn't make the time.
Nice fucking copies are pain in the ass.
Dread Pirate Bob, I would recommend using Gloaming Cut. What are your powers?
Powers. Oh, let's see. What do we got? Cloud of Steel, Duelist Flurry. Yeah, change that from Gloaming Cut. That's what Shadow said was better.
I mean, Duelist Flurry is a good power, it's just not very beginner friendly. It's difficult to combo with.
Let's see.
How about the other powers on your bar?
Okay. Right now I'm still set up with the Blade Fury, Deft Strike, and Assassinate.
So I'm gonna link the powers that I use. I'd recommend doing the same, but if you have a preference, you could use something else.
Let's see.
So if you look at the Q group chat, those are what I use. That's what I recommend, but if you'd prefer to use Duelist Flurry, that's a decent power. It's just, like I said, harder to work with.
Okay.
And if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Nemia, is there anything you wanted in particular?
Uh, uh, was there something I wanted? No, I don't think there was anything specific. I mean, I do well enough in like the PvPs we run with guild only or alliance only, I shall say. But if I do get in like PvP matches, like hosted by you, for example, I get absolutely fucking slaughtered. I don't know.
Part of that might be some of the players attending mine are actually set up for PvP. That could be part of it.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, but
And also part of it's just we get a lot of new players in, like it's not the same people each time. So when I go to matchmake, I don't always know what I have the first time around, so that can also mess with the matchmaking as well. Pirate Bob, let me know when you're ready to come down and try dueling some more.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go.
Hi Bob. We're in the training class. If you go to Pirate Codes Alliance Discord
Okay.
and hop into the voice chat channel that you see us in, then you can participate.
Okay. Down.
Fox, are you still here?
I am. What's up?
I think somebody wants to come to the class and doesn't have a role in this Discord, so they're not able to see anything. It's Bob.
Bob, another Bob.
Yeah, another Bob. He's played with us before. Not in Discord though. Let's see what else I'm messing up here.
Yeah, they should be able to see it now. If not, just have them join any voice channel. I'll move them.
Wanna go again, Bob?
Not healed all the way. Okay, now you are.
That's doesn't matter. Those copies are just annoying.
Okay, so what I'm seeing is there's probably discrepancy between both of your builds. Nemi is probably a lot tankier than Bob. But
Oh
one
yeah,
other thing I'm seeing, Bob, is that you need to fight more realistically. Like, you don't want to just sit there and try to DPS him to death like it's PvE. You need to try to hide behind stuff when your stuff is not ready and attack when you have your stuff available, basically. So instead of sitting there trying to DPS him to death with an at-will only, you need to try to actually do a rotation if you want to
So I
actually
should actually
kill
use some
him.
of these other things. So I use them to get in, and then I use at wills. Let's see what assassin. Okay. Let's see. It's a soul puppet.
Oh fuck! My game just decided to minimize itself out of nowhere.
Yeah,
Lovely.
now you're starting to get somewhere. He's actually taking some damage now.
I changed my combat enchantment from Devotion Torn as well, out of the fortified nature. So I should probably take some more damage.
Now, one thing you may want to try to start with is an opener rotation where you try to def strike him. And do you have the Skullcracker feat?
Let's see.
Is he with you guys right now, Marigold?
Hmm?
Bob that joined the server, is he with you guys right now?
He's not in here that I know of.
No, I'm saying in your group. I gave him a role on the server. He's just not responding to me.
No, I don't have Skullcracker.
Okay, I don't know where he is. I don't know if he might be AFK. Gonna try to find him in game. He might be there.
Okay.
I don't see him in game either.
Oh shit.
Okay, I sent him a message on Discord. Maybe he'll see that.
Okay, thank you.
So, Bob, one thing I wanted to, like, I wish we had more people, as that would make this a little bit easier, because then I could just demonstrate it for you. But I can hit,
Just put plus
I
in
can
the
hit
PvP
you to show
training.
you this. So, an opener rotation is usually when you depth strike, cast a smoke bomb, and then assassinate. And there's also a dazing strike version where you just replace the smoke bomb with dazing strike. So that would be a good thing to try on Nemia. Like just to
Oh,
start
that's
out
what I was
with.
trying, but except I did it backwards. So okay, assassinate and smoke bomb. I need the other way. Yeah.
And I would just practice trying to hit them when they're not shadow slipping to start with as well. Now, Nemia, the thing to know about rogues when you fight rogues is rogues can run out of stuff, and you're basically gonna be able to hurt them most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the rogues cannot do the same to you all the time. They run out of stuff. And when they're like when you've seen them use 2 dangerous encounters, and they don't have a daily, then they're not really going to be able to do that much to you. Like that you'll take some damage from them from their at wills and the like, but that's survivable.
Yep. The Bob person who wanted to join, just put a plus in the PvP training session. Is he wanting to join this still, or I don't know.
Yeah, let's exit and re-enter so I can shuffle the teams,
All right.
with the new person we just added.
Okay.
Okay, going back in.
Alrighty.
This should be a little bit better.
Not fighter.
So, Bob, I'm gonna have you fight me for a bit, if that's cool with you. And Nemia, I think you should try to fight Bob. That should be a closer to even match.
The fighter Bob. Yeah, okay.
Now, probably the Bob here is gonna have its slight advantage over Nemia here, just from the classes, but this is a little bit closer together than asking a new rogue to fight a warlock that's tanky.
Alrighty.
Okay, Bob, to explain some of the basic tricks and kind of demonstrate it on you, ideally when you fight a player, you would be able to get them in a stealthed smoke bomb and then quickly fire Death Strike and Assassinate. And wait for you to heal a moment before I show you anything else, but that's ideal, but you won't always be able to do that because of movement. Because some players are going to have really high movement speed, and they're not going to let you do that.
Oh, yeah.
But if you can land that on them, that's going to do a lot of damage. And the other thing is, do you have the Toxic Blade's feat?
Yeah.
The Toxic Blade's feat will stack up to 5 instantly whenever you use Smoke Bomb, so that's part of why that's good. And using Smoke Bomb from stealth gives you combat advantage. Okay, I think your health is high enough I can show you a more complicated version of that. So I could come in, do a Smoke Bomb, Death Strike you a few times, or not, Gloaming Cut you a few times, and then do the Death Strike and the Assassinate. Now what I just showed you there is a fighter killing rotation, but that only works if the fighter doesn't have high movement speed. But that would be your best odds of killing somebody like Bob. Now, realistically, Rogue has a hard time against fighters, but if you were to try to kill Bob, then you would want to do a rotation kind of like that one. And Nemia, if you're bored, I'd fight Bob. Like I said, that would be best person here for you to try to fight.
Yeah, I'd fight him when he gets down. On the campfire.
Yeah, he's at the start spot.
You said he needed to sec before he comes. 1 second, he said, like a minute ago. 2 minutes.
Bob, come back to where I am. I'm on number 2.
I'm standing right by you.
No, that's me.
Oh, that's you? Oh, that's you. Oh, wrong person. Okay.
You are able to see names, or do you have names turned off?
I have names on.
Okay.
So it goes right by somebody. Okay.
Okay, so for main rotation you'd use to try to kill Bob, stealth smoke bomb, start with some gloaming cuts, and before the smoke bomb wears off, use a Death Strike followed by an Assassinate. Now, the Death Strike and the Assassinate have to be close together for that. You have to fire them both pretty fast in order to pull that off. And just come back when you respawn, and I'll show you a few other things. Okay, so another thing that you can do as an opener rotation is just go into stealth, Death Strike, immediately cast Assassinate. Now, there's a chance that somebody will dodge that, but if you have not used Skullcracker yet and you're just now entering combat, then there'll be a tiny daze, so you're more likely to succeed at that rotation before they can dodge. However, there's still a possibility that they dodge, in which case you might want to consider casting the Death Strike first, waiting a moment for them to do the dodge, and then follow them and hit them with the assassinate. Does that make sense? Here, why don't you try it on me? Try to Death Strike and assassinate me.
Okay.
And decent first. Let me see your stats. That's a little weird. That should have done a lot more damage. Okay, very... You might want to work on your stats, Bob, if you're going to actually PvP with this character. The critical severity is crazy low. Power's not capped.
Oh.
You generally want both of those close to capped or capped. And accuracy is really low as well, but that's probably not your first priority to get up. Your critical strike is good, though. Looking at your critical strike, that's actually at a good number already. Your defense is decently high, but ideally you'd want to cap it all the way at 56%. That's kind of hard to do, though, so I wouldn't worry about that as much right away. You probably want to increase your HP. Like, there's probably some ways you could do that. Probably just raise your item level would do it.
Oh, shite.
Yeah, that lowers the other stuff.
Okay, and another thing I'm going to show you is when you want to build up action points to get your daily often, ideally what you would want to do on a rogue, Bob, is to spam Cloud of Steel as much as you can get away with without getting yourself killed. Like, when you don't have anything else ready, then just spam Cloud of Steel. Now, ideally, you also are close enough to the person to alternate between Gloaming Cut and Cloud of Steel. That will get you the highest possible action point gain rate for your rogue when combined.
That is going up fast. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know why alternating works better than just using Cloud of
never.
Steel or just Gloaming Cut, but for some reason it seems to.
Oh, no, I'm hitting wrong buttons.
Now, part of it might be an illusion relating to being able to pressure enemies better when you are actually using something that hurts instead of just using Cloud of Steel. But then again, that doesn't really explain why just using Gloaming Cut doesn't work as well as alternating. Now, to get my daily up and show you something, you were able to see health bars, correct? Like, when you look at me, you can see my health bar?
Yes.
Good. That means I can show you this. Okay, so I'm gonna get you to roughly 60% hit points just to show you what that looks like on your own bar, and then I'm gonna have you try to do that for me. Okay, that's definitely more than 60%. That's like 40% of your
40%
HP.
looks like.
But the reason 60% is an important number for a rogue is that is the point when you could cast a Shocking Execution and have very high odds of killing that person. Assuming the Shocking Execution hits, of course. So when you've got your daily ready, you want to use it right about now. And you can see that almost killed you. Like, I could blow on you and you would die.
Yeah.
So now I want you to try to do that for me. Like, if you need to gather action points, you can, like, use Cloud of Steel to whittle me down, whatever you need to do.
It's target. Okay, so...
and I'll tell you when I'm around 60% HP. Right about now. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like about there. But
Yeah,
of course,
that's
have the action points.
50%, 40-ish%, something like that.
Let's do this.
Let me know when your daily is ready.
Should ding anytime. Okay, now daily's ready.
Okay, I will heal up a
You're at
little
about
bit
40,
and
yeah.
try to hit me around 60% HP or lower. Okay, that's about 40%, 40 something percent, 50%. Now use it, 60%. Yeah, so that right around then is when you'd want to try to do it. Now, it looks like your damage is still kind of low because, like I said, you've got really low critical severity and your stats are not optimized for PvP yet. But if you had a PvP build, then that would have killed me.
Yeah.
Now, do you have your pet summoned right now?
No.
Okay, so probably you need pots to start out with, like Wildstorm Elixir and Flask of Potency. Those are usually
Oh.
easy enough to maintain. That should help you significantly. And if you can afford it, you could do Watermelon Sorbet too. And those three right there are the big ones for increasing your damage and getting your stats high enough. Now, if you wanted to optimize your build further, you'd switch your gear around and try to get as much stats out of your gear as you can, so that when you're on a PvP map, you've got really excellent stats, and that'll help you do a lot more damage.
Let's see.
Now, something else to point out, Bob, is when you are in a fight, you do not want to just fight people out in the open on a rogue 24/7, especially not, like, in PvP at least. The reason being is rogue cannot survive being out in the open for a prolonged period of time if they don't have any stuff ready to attack with. So when you've just used your Death Strike and your Assassinate, you don't really have anything else to do. Like, you could use your Smoke Bomb if you hadn't used it already and Glowing Cut them a bit. But when your big encounters are down and you don't have a daily, you don't really have a reason to be out in the open anymore. Doing so will just get you killed because the other person will be able to just wail on you until you're dead and you don't have anything to really push back against them with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So what you want to do
Like
when
that.
you have your stuff down and you're waiting, like let's say you're waiting for your stealth to come back and you're trying to get away from people so that your stealth can regenerate faster, because when you take damage you lose some of your stealth regeneration progress, right? So what you do about that is you hide behind stuff usually. So I would be, like, let's say somebody's trying to walk around the pillar and I start walking the opposite direction, and I just do that and just buy time until my stuff is ready again. And then I try to kill them. Makes sense? And you just actually blocked my Assassinate, so you can see that works. Now, in a match, what you ideally want to do with a rogue is you don't actually want to be 1 versus 1ing at all if you don't have to.
Yeah.
What you
Like
want to
your videos
do
were
is
saying.
with a rogue, you want to, like, you want to help other DPS players kill people. Like, you're not really the initiator. Like, you're not really the person leading the charge in a match. You're the person who finishes the job. Like, a fighter or a ranger or something like that will start hurting somebody, and then you take advantage of that to death strike in and assassinate them, basically. That's your bread and butter. Nemia, did you need something? Like, I'll try to get to
Uh,
you in a moment.
that poor fella had to go.
Oh,
Um,
okay. Okay, let me see if I can find you more people to fight. Like, I wish we had more people today. That would make this a lot more exciting.
Yeah, I thought a lot were going to be here. I was like,
I mean,
Yeah,
there were more than 10 people in the first class, but that was 2 months ago.
yeah.
I
Well,
think
then we had a lot of people coming over from your website or something too that were signing up and getting into our Discord, but apparently they didn't.
I
Yeah, I
think
think
Bellatrix probably forgot. We just did like a pretty long boss training. Probably forgot after that. I don't know about the others though.
I'd put out a couple advertisements on the Discord for it.
Yeah, I put some on the Alliance.
yeah, I've been spamming for it too, but nobody's biting today. Like, I've been putting spam in PvP training session for this, but nobody's taking it.
I mean, I'd chalk it up to the Super Bowl, but I really don't think there's that many people traveling to Los Angeles.
Alright, or did you want to join?
I can do. My character's nowhere like ready because my stats balance so poorly right now.
I might be able
Um,
to
Mine's already
teach you
ready.
a few things. Like, if your build is not ready, then it's not going to be helpful much to actually fight, but I could try to show you some things, like I'm doing with
oh,
Bob here.
then sign me right out. Yeah, there's a lot of bits and pieces that I had in mind for a build. Hang on, let me plus up on the channel.
PvP training channel
Well,
maybe.
Oh, right, okay. Hang on. Yeah, let me go to that
Okay,
channel.
let's all exit and re-enter so that I
Uh,
can
Yep,
get
yep.
him assimilated onto the teams and give Nemia something to do.
um,
It is
I
you,
had,
correct?
yes. I had a stupid, crazy build in mind, but it was gonna take me a while. I only just did finished with the enchantment, um, oh, rework on my PVE build, and PvP was going to be the next stop. Um, okay, so, well, I was having a deflection-based build in mind, um, which I know isn't advised. I'm aware that if your deflection is lower than the accuracy of the other person, you take extra damage. Um, so I was going to build around that.
You could actually
Um,
do a high deflection severity build if you've got deflection severity 40. That actually might be good right now with the new gear pieces, but that's kind of a rogue or a bard thing, because those are the classes that have the deflection 40.
yeah, I only had deflect, but not deflection severity. Um, only because I got well, I'm not. I'm really bad at keeping secrets, right? The Everfrost chain coat underwear from Brinchunder, I think. Um, and it returns 50% of incoming damage every for 10 seconds out of every 30 seconds once I perform a successful deflection. I thought I hadn't got my fortified nature yet at the time. Oh, Bob, yes, did you get my message? I was hoping to get my soul shield back because of the
oh,
training
yeah.
sessions. Just mail it back to me because I figured going down in the middle of a training session is probably not the best idea.
On
Um,
this character, and I had to take it off to because it's like, oh,
okay, if
soul
Christ,
shield in
I had a very
PvP.
bad run-in with this person called Chrysophilax. She's a total liar, by the way. Um, Claims she killed me 4 times in Icewind Dale when in fact she had not at all.
I don't really know
Um,
what to make of that. Like, they're a regular in the events. Like, that's about all I know about them. Like, they fight in the matches, but I don't really see them talk.
yeah, it was an Icewind Dale thing. She tunnel visioned Gremlin, so
Is
I
this
came in
about
to
the
heal.
same time when did the Icewind Dale?
That time we were there, remember? Yep. And they called in reinforcements, and 6 people came down to beat down on me,
That was pretty fun though.
and they didn't manage to kill me.
And then came out
So
since.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. You might want to send that to me later. That's the sort of thing I need to check out when I hear about that stuff. Like, I'm kind of the... Well, then again, I'm about to leave the game, though, so I'm not really sure what I can do for you
Yeah.
there.
I
Like, if you want to try to
not your
send that to me
problem.
later, like,
No,
if
no.
it's past the 14th, then I'll be gone regardless, but if I'm able to get something done before then, I might be able to help you with that.
No, it's fine. I'm a big girl. I can solve my own issues.
Wait, you're a girl?
Yes, can't you make
That's an expression.
Okay, going back on to
I'm
the
just
If I'm a
messing
girl,
with
I
you.
have been
map.
in a lot of testosterone. Hormone replacement therapy. Oh well. You know what they say? The people you don't like most are just the people you see most of yourself in, that's all. I just have to make with it. Get in with the times.
are you on your DPS or heal loadout or on or
Oops, sorry. DPS bit. Sorry.
okay.
No, the other build is just it's just getting worse with the fortified nature combat enchantment.
Oh.
I mean,
I think it's
the
broken.
the problem is when they changed players' hit points, they doubled it. I think sometime in the last 2 years.
Nemia, can you get on 2 to stop that from capping? Thanks.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. Let me get it out. Let me get off it. Okay.
Okay, like, I don't mind if you guys cap the nodes while you're fighting, because fighting on node is very different than fighting off node. Like, when you're off node, it's kind of it's kind of the Wild West, where you can kind of do whatever you want. You can hide wherever you want, and you tend to move further away from your opponent a lot more. Just the psychology of that. But when you're on node, that changes the fight conditions significantly, and that can actually change your performance depending on what class it is and what your experience is. And realistically, in a match, you're going to be fighting on nodes a lot, so I'd say the better practice is to fight on node.
I had a little bit of a theory about that, actually. I'll just run it by you and see what you think. So, when I've played a healer in PvP, um, I've noticed that obviously it kind of takes a role of a tank. You get everybody's aggression. You're the first person everybody wants to take out. That draws melee fighters onto you. But if I'm standing off, and since it takes more than one melee fighter to take a healer down, I'm standing here, for example. I would literally be drawing at least one melee fighter off the pad. Um, which means my side would have an advantage in that sense. I can heal. I'm within range of healing any one of my party on the pad, and I'm taking two melee fighters off the board. Right?
I caught some of that, and then I got distracted. Like, I got as far as essentially you saying healers tend to take a lot of aggro at the start of a match from two melee classes, something like
At
that.
least two, because one is not going to be enough to take person down, right? So, um, if I'm off the pad, and I know you've always said to fight on the pad, but if I'm off the pad, that means I'm taking two melee fighters off the grid, off the pad, off the table, um, and I'm still able to heal my party team members on that pad. What is there a better term? Am I using the right term for this? It's
Yeah, I
not a pad, is it?
understood. Like, when you step off node, like, A smart
I'm
player is
targeting it.
probably
Yeah.
not going to follow you if they need to be standing on node at that moment. Like, if they can see their team's trying to cap the node, they're not going to follow you off node for that, most likely. Or if they do, it will be for a very brief period of time where they try to kill you, and if they fail, they wait for their stuff to come back. Especially if it's melee classes. But a lot of players don't do that, and they will try to just chase you blindly. So, yeah, I could
Right.
see it happening in that case. In that case, that
Okay.
could be a good move if that's what your team requires in order to cap. But
Okay,
the thing you
but
want to
the
keep in
reasonable.
Yeah, the thing you want to keep in mind though is when you are off node, that does change a lot. That does change the how people around you uh, behave. Like when you are off node, usually what happens is that takes the pressure off of you. Like people kind of stop attacking you, especially if it's experienced players, like I mentioned. But the downside is they could start focusing on someone else on your team that's still on the node that might not be able to take those hits. And that also can lower the pressure of your team if you're constantly off node at bad times and your team's kind of nervous and distracted and they're just watching what you're doing at that point. You don't like
Right.
that would be
Okay,
something to
got
keep
it.
in mind.
Right.
But there are
But the
definitely
danger of
moments
leaving
where
a
you can step
healer.
off node and that would be beneficial.
Right. But the danger of leaving a healer unattended in this, and especially within healing range of that, um, would be, that other person. Let's say I have one other team member um, on the pad, and I would then be able to keep that person alive for, well beyond his normal um, combat duration. That has to be a factor they've got to bear in mind too, right?
Okay, so I heard the second part of that, but not the first part.
Am I cutting out? Okay, shit.
I think it's just that I'm having some trouble concentrating at the moment, like I'm trying to.
Get people. Okay. Yay, go Zax.
Yay!
And guys, you guys can fight each other at any time. Like, you don't have to just stand here and wait.
And I wasn't going to do any serious fighting until I got my stats in place. Right now, it's just wildly unbalanced because of the enchantments rework.
Okay, Arinor, what I can see on your build is you should in theory be kinda tanky. Like, I don't know if this is ideal for a healer though.
I'm not playing a healer. I'm not on a healer build at the moment. That's the thing. As a healer, yes, it would be okay-ish. But as a DPS, yeah, I would flounder terribly, I think.
Okay, I see you've got a very high defense actually, that's good. Got high critical avoidance, your HP seems high, so in theory your DPS cleric's got decent defensive stats at least. Now looking at the offensive stats, your critical severity could be a bit higher. Maybe you want more accuracy too, so you do scary damage.
yeah,
Your power looks okay, like that might... Well, looking at what gear pieces you have, it's not going to cap out in combat it looks like, so you actually are missing 10% power.
yeah. I'm. It's. Is it worth downgrading Mount Insignia? Because I don't know. I mean, they're all mythic right now, but then they only have a point 0.8 contribution to combined rating, and I'm just wondering if bringing them down to say blue or greens while keeping the Mountain Insignia combos.
That can
Would
work. Like, you might not... Like, if I had mythic insignias, I would always use them, and I do actually have those right now, but that's from a DPS player's perspective. And a squishy one at that. But there are some classes that work better at lower item levels than other classes do at that same item level. Like, I've seen 18k paladins that are healers do surprisingly well. as an example. And I think Cleric is like that, and some of the other kind of tanky classes like Fighter can do that as well. I would say it's better to be maxed out if you've got a choice between the two, but if you're just trying to make a functional build, then lowering your item level does work. Bob, are you
The
still
guy,
there?
the guy didn't even mention
Yeah.
that I was using masterwork weapons as a huge advantage.
I mean, I have Masterwork as well, but I just need.
I think, Bob, we were gonna fight. Let's go over here to 3.
Okay.
Providence.
So
Okay.
try to fight like realistically for this, Bob. Like we're actually trying to kill each other, so you can hide behind stuff, leave and come back. But I wouldn't stay gone for too long. Like generally when you duel somebody, then you don't stay gone for a long period of time, and you don't run super far away, but you can leave the node every now and then to go hide behind stuff, and that makes sense. So, ready? Type R if you are, or just say.
Let's see. Let's go to channel. Yeah.
Okay. Now, I would recommend dodging at the beginning of combat for future reference. That would have gotten you killed. Either that or attack first. Like, either you're fast and you get the jump on somebody first, or you need to dodge my Death Strike and my Assassinate to make sure I don't kill you. Okay, let's try this again. Once your HP is full. Like, wait for your HP to fill up always in between duels. Okay, ready? Go.
Ready.
Ooh, how did you jump there like so suddenly?
Death
Wait,
Strike
did you?
and Assassinate. Like, with rogues, they're super fast. They have really, really fast cast times. That's one of their big advantages. I don't know how I cast that smoke bomb, to be honest. Normally it doesn't let me do it if I'm in somebody else's.
Yeah. I thought I had mine there, but that was yours.
Yeah, now, where are you from? This could actually be a latency problem. Like, just generally, EU or America.
America.
Okay, so in
We've
theory
got
you're
latency
close enough
problems
to the
here, yeah.
server that you shouldn't have latency problems, but
Well,
what
I
about your
usually do.
connection? Is that a wireless connection or a wired one?
Ah, yeah, it's wireless right now.
Okay, mine's on wired, so yeah, that's gonna be a significant advantage on my end. Like, if you always want a wired connection for PvPing for pretty much any game, because that's gonna be more stable than wireless.
Ah.
That was something I learned very recently. Like, I PvP'd for years with a wireless connection and got away with it, but when I switched to wired, that was a huge difference.
For me, wires remove about 25 milliseconds.
Yeah, and in general, like, with rogues, a massive advantage is their cast times. Like, if you look at the cast times for your powers, like you hover your cursor over your encounters, you'll notice that you've got really fast cast times, like 0.9 seconds, 0.5 seconds, 0.9, 0.5 seconds.
Yeah.
All of that's really fast. So you can kill people like that's really good against DPS DCs, I've noticed, where they've got kind of longer lasting encounters for their longer cast times. So a rogue could theoretically win a fight against a DPS DC just from their cast times if they're being pretty aggressive about it and fast. And another thing, Bob, there's a trick you can do that will win you a lot more rogue duels just from this. And that is, you always want to be the last rogue to go into stealth if you're going against an inexperienced rogue. Because they're not gonna, like, they're not very good at plotting their course of action, especially at the beginning of a fight. And if you are the last rogue to go into stealth, then what that means is the other rogue is going to reveal themselves while you are still in stealth. So if you've got your Death Strike or your Assassinate ready, you can kill them at that moment because you've got all your damage and they can't see you. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try fighting again.
Right. Ready.
Okay, that was a little better than last time, but you didn't like you need to be a bit faster with your reaction. Like you need to hit before I hit, ideally. Like if I hit you first, that's a massive advantage on my end. With Rogue, it's a lot of it is about speed. So you want to try to kill me before I can kill you. Like that's really what it boils down to. And another thing, like some awareness of your powers and what powers can be used inside what other powers also helps. Like one thing to know about Smoke Bomb is that it's got kind of a delay when you cast it on somebody. The daze doesn't kick in immediately. So and the other thing about Smoke Bomb is that if somebody is standing outside of the Smoke Bomb that you just cast, and they come in with a Death Strike, they will still be able to hit you, even though you're in Smoke Bomb, because they're attacking you from outside with a teleport. So even though they will be dazed after teleporting in, they will still hit you with the initial Death Strike.
Ooh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's try this again. Now see if you can try to hit me first. Ready?
Ready. Ah.
How long does your stealth work
Well, it
for?
didn't work.
My stealth lasts 6 seconds. Like, for an assassin, it is 6 seconds in combat. I got mixed up there. Okay, for stealth, it's 6 seconds when you're in stealth, and 6 seconds to recharge for an assassin. And that's because of one of the feats we have.
That's a huge upgrade. And you can do that while fighting.
Run away.
I'm not sure you understood. Like, when we have stealth, it takes 6 seconds for the stealth to drain, and
Yeah.
it takes 6 seconds for the stealth to recharge. But we also
Yeah.
lose stealth regeneration progress whenever we get hit.
Right. Okay. Gotcha. I don't have a rogue, so that's new to me, unfortunately.
What the hell?
Now, the base stealth regeneration time for Rogue without that feat is 12.5 seconds, and that's what Whisper Knife has to deal with. They have to actually manage that in combat. So they get a ton of damage for their rotations, but they have a long time before their rotation is going to be ready again because they have to be attacking from stealth in order to do enough damage. Like, they're even more reliant on stealth than Assassin is. And for a Whisper Knife, they have a really long time that they can stay in stealth for. Like, I think it's around 9 seconds for a Whisper Knife usually to be in stealth for, and 12.5 seconds to get the stealth meter back, assuming they are not getting hit. If they are getting hit, then it can be as long as 22 seconds before they get their stealth back. That's assuming they aren't smart enough to leave and come back, though. Like, that's what you're supposed to do with that.
Right. Hit and run. Okay.
Now, the best way to fight a rogue that's like the best way to fight a Whisper Knife rogue is going to be kind of aggressive and take full advantage of them being out of stealth. Like, you want to prevent them from going back in stealth for as long as possible, because they're basically useless out of stealth. Like, they do have a passive that will give them combat advantage for 5 seconds after leaving stealth, but good chance they've already used most of their rotation by then. For an assassin, though, they're a little bit more flexible, and they've got much better sustain. Like, in part because their stealth is 6 seconds in, 6 seconds out, and they're not as reliant on stealth. They really just need the combat advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so Bob, let's try again. Ready?
Ready.
Okay, yeah, this is a pretty big gap between you and me at the moment. Like, part of it, that's just
Yeah.
the stats, though. Like, even when you do hit me, you're not gonna do enough damage, I don't think, to actually kill me before I can kill you back. So I would definitely work on your build and practice with some less experienced players to get a that's a better way to progress than trying to fight somebody who is experienced and you are fresh into PvP and have not played this class much in PvP.
No.
Oh, you can totally practice on me. My latency is like 297 milliseconds, and I'm a noob.
I mean, we do have our alliance PvP systems. I think those are a good place to practice for sure.
Hey, Arenar, would you be willing to fight Bob on your DPS cleric?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that gives him something to do. And Nemia, would you like to fight me?
Oh, sure.
So, Nemia,
You
you
are.
remember earlier when I told you that rogues can run out of stuff, and you
Yes.
have the advantage in that regard? You're
Yeah.
tankier than the rogue is, and you can keep hitting the rogue for the most part. The rogue can only really kill you if they have big stuff ready. So what you can do is you can shadow slip away from 2 of their big encounters, and if you manage that, they're basically defenseless for the next few seconds. Like, they're gonna have to run away and hide behind something, or try to bluff you with something like maybe gloaming cut you to make it look good. Or if they have a daily, that it actually could kill you. That is dangerous. Rogues take a while to regenerate their daily, though, so if you've just seen one recently, you're not going to see another one for, I'd say, at least 17 through 30 seconds. That might even be too fast. Like, it's more like a minute, I think. I'm trying to remember exactly how long it is now.
Yeah. Just one thing that always annoys me about rogues is the smoke bomb. Is there like any useful deep shot tricks against that?
Not sure I understood that.
I mean, there's the thing that always annoys me about rogues is the smoke bomb, right?
Yes.
I
Like,
always just drop it on my feet, and I just takes forever to get out of there. Can't shadow sleep, and then I just take a shitload of damage. Is there any like tips or tricks against that, or
so
do I just
Smoke
have the
Bomb
kind of
often has a bug when you cast it in PvP where you won't be able to see it for the first few seconds a lot of the time, especially if there's a lot of people on the node. It seems like it's more likely to glitch when there's a lot going on. But if you notice that you are dazed, probably you're in a smoke bomb if it's a rogue. So run in one direction until you are not dazed anymore, would be my suggestion. And if they have not used their Death Strike recently or their Assassinate recently, I would be like, I'd be watching for that and trying to get, like, if you see somebody Death Strike in, you want to be running kind of the other way. Like, that's a good trick in general for making it so that the rogue cannot easily follow up with their next attack. Now, they're fast enough that they might still be able to hit you, even if you're running away from them at the time when they cast their Death Strike on you. And if they have slows, like let's say they have Flash Freeze or Death Strike slowed you long enough for them to come in and hit you with the Assassinate, that won't always work, but if you Shadow Slip or something like that, that should work. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you want to be running away from a melee class so that they can't hit you with their second attack. Like, they will hit you with one most likely, but if you jump away from them right as they're trying to hit you with the other one, you might survive just from delaying them long enough that you have a little bit more time to heal, or their attack doesn't hit as hard as it normally would. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Like,
Shall we?
with rogues, in a nutshell, you can counter a rogue by always dodging their two big encounter hits. So if you dodge the Death Strike and you dodge the Assassinate, then you're probably not going to die unless they have a daily, or if you're at really low HP. Ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Nice one.
Yeah, I actually dodged one.
That
twice
one
in a
should have
row.
killed you. Aye! You're dodging all my big hits. That's actually really good.
Yeah, but you're healing up and I'm almost. Ah,
Why am I healing
Now
now?
that right there was a daily. Like,
Oh,
that
Yeah.
was a daily. Now, that daily is not an easy one to dodge. Like, Hateful Knives is a two-stage attack, so you need to basically dodge twice as soon as you notice that somebody's trying to use Hateful Knives on you, in order to dodge both stages of that attack. But you do have decent odds of surviving if you successfully dodge the first part at least.
Mm-hmm.
Like, once you've been hit, then you're going to be knocked prone, but you do have some window where you can dodge it. I've seen rangers do it where they do a quick double dodge and they manage to avoid the entire daily. I'm not sure
Wow.
how easy that is to do on a warlock, but in theory, if you're on a PvP build, you're going to be tanky enough that unless I have something to follow up with, my daily will not be enough to kill you by itself, even if it's shocking execution.
Mm-hmm.
So let's try this again. Ready?
Yep, ready.
there's my answer, Bob. Become 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi.
Okay, like,
Damn.
with that I was being a bit reckless. Like, a lot of inexperienced rogues will make that mistake against you. Like, kind of like Bob was doing earlier, where they don't try to hide behind stuff. Like, that's pretty common mistake for a rogue to make. So in that situation, you'll definitely have the advantage. And like you saw there, you almost killed me despite not having a full PvP build. Now, in that duel, I did try to avoid you and make things a little bit more unpredictable, so that, like, I did anticipate when you were gonna shadow slip away. But if I wanted to, a lot of rogues will just not pay attention to whether or not you might have a dodge, and they'll just attack. In which case, you would have dodged it. but I decided to wait because I figured you'd probably Shadow Slip at the beginning. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just I don't know, something that I is often good to do is in PvP is just always kind of shadow slip at the beginning. Always somebody trying to immediately hit you with something.
Yeah, generally that does
Especially
work
like
well.
CCs. If you can like avoid the CC, then that's a huge boon immediately.
Now, before we start this duel, like, another thing I'll explain that's really useful to know for a warlock when going against a rogue is your class hard counters rogue, basically. And if the warlock is really good, they also hard counter ranger. Like, if you had Razorleaf going against, like, a really good warlock, then he wouldn't stand a chance. The warlock would wipe the floor with him. It wouldn't matter how good he was at that point.
Mm-hmm.
But I'd say most warlocks are not in this game have not been at that point. Like, they just can't reach that point with the amount of practice there is available. But it's much easier for a warlock to counter a rogue. Like, Azu can counter me, uh, even though he doesn't do that much damage, and you can probably counter me as well once you have a PvP build.
Uh-huh.
And the other important thing to know about Rogue is that when Rogue is trying to retreat, when we're trying to hide behind something, we're basically giving you a big indication that we can't hurt you at that moment. So you could chase after us, and you would probably kill us. Like, if you see we're trying to go get our stealth back, you want to give chase most of the time and just kill the person quickly if you can.
Yeah, right.
Like, that's a very common mistake I see where people are just not very aggressive or they're a little bit too scared to be off node too much. And what you want to do is if you see an opportunity to kill someone, you want to be aggressive and try to kill them quickly. Like, the time you would need to go back to the node is if you can't do it quickly enough and you're just wasting time off node. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, let's fight again. Ready?
Yep, I'm ready. Oh, contact. I see.
Ooh.
Nice, you dodged that.
Oh.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Oh, shit.
Skin of
You were
teeth.
able to stall long enough to kill me. Now,
Yeah.
obviously I'm not fighting at like max capacity. That's a terrible way to train people, because everyone would just be dead in 2
Incredibly
seconds.
demoralizing.
Yeah, it was fun,
Like,
but very close.
with fighting somebody, if you're an experienced player, like, you want to kind of gradually increase the difficulty, I've noticed. Like, if you
Uh-huh.
just start out just absolutely annihilating them every single time, very few people are going to stick around long enough to actually improve to the point where they can beat you. They're just gonna rage quit, most likely. They'll just be discouraged because it's not fun if they're just dying
Yeah.
over and over.
Yeah, what I noticed is like when in our PvP matches, in the private PvPs we do, we often get like people first time trying PvP stuff like that. So we just they often like go a bit easier when we have like new people there. So it's
Yeah,
it
I'm
just
totally the
get you
punching bag.
discouraged, you know.
Yeah, like, it takes like the gradual progression to get most people to play PvP. Like, there's a small percentage of people who are stubborn bastards who will just keep going until they get better, but that's a tiny minority.
Yeah, and there's also already like very few people playing PvP in this game anyway, so there's not too many of those around, I guess.
Yeah, and do you have PvP healing potions by any chance, Nemia? Those are in short supply right now, but if you have some, then
Yes, I do
those
have.
are a significant advantage over anyone that doesn't have them. I still have mine, but most people do not.
Yeah, I still have like 20,000 glory.
Nice. Do you have
I
the
have like,
lingering medicine boon to go with it?
Let's see.
oh yeah, you mentioned that the last time, and I totally took all
Yeah,
of
I
them,
have
whole
it. The
row of
lingering
them.
medicine.
Yeah.
Yeah, now you don't actually need all three, you just want the bottom one, the one specifically labeled lingering medicine.
Oh, the other two, they.
The,
Oh, okay.
the other two are useful, but they're not high priority. Like, they do increase the size of your healing potion ticks a little bit, but if you're still needing some stats and HP, I would not prioritize those other two. I would get those later on when you've got more campaigns coming out.
Oh, shite. Huh.
I'm gonna fight Chryso a moment. He's on my team, never mind. Anemia, do you want to fight Chryso?
Sure, I'll do it. Let's just go a bit further away so don't accidentally attack somebody wrong. Okay, there we go. Ooh.
Yay! Oh, should be cheering for my own team, right? Where's Gren today?
I don't know. Maybe he has had some real life stuff come up. I'd assume. Yeah, like this guy on the tanky build had the drone weapon set, and yeah, we to be honest, like when we do PvP, first of all, almost none of us have the set, and secondly, even if we had, we'd ban them because that heal is just, oh my fucking god, it's ridiculous.
The drowned
There
weapon?
are
Yeah.
definitely more items I'd have liked to restrict, but you're kind of striking a balance between the people who don't like the item bans and the people who know
Ah,
why you
Yeah.
need the item bans.
yeah,
Yeah.
And with my community, I've seemed to have more people who don't really care as much, but they still don't want you to use all the broken items. Like, the reason being is because that visibly kills the queue and reduces the population. Like, it's just too much at that point, and anyone can see that at that point. So I went with the minimum list of items that I could, like, I just went with the bare minimum, what it took to make the matches playable. But if I wanted to make them even better quality, then ideally I'd be able to restrict more items.
yeah.
Now for duels, you can ask people to take off certain items, like, and that can, like, you generally want to discuss the rules for what items you want people using on each other beforehand. Now, keeping in mind, Chryso is pretty close. Like, he's decked out. He's been coming to my PvP events quite a bit lately, so he's gonna have a strong build and have some experience. So that might be a biting off more than you can chew to start with.
Yeah, it's just
He is a barbarian, though. In theory, the warlock class would be stronger than the barbarian, but if there's a gap, then it can go the other way.
Yeah, I mean, we had quite a few of these when we fought fights, and I mean, he has won more of them than I have, but I have won some at least.
Bob, are you still there?
Yes.
Is there someone that you wanted to fight in particular? Like, if you guys look at the Q group, is there somebody here that you particularly want to try to fight?
I want to fight a rhino.
Who said they wanted to fight Aranor?
Me?
Who
What?
is me? Like,
Anywho.
I'm sorry, I don't know your voices that well.
Nemea.
Nemia, you could go against Aranor if they're okay with that. Oh, you're in a duel, never mind.
Yeah, yeah. Oh no, it's
After
okay.
after this one, maybe. Yeah?
I mean, I'm
Yeah.
probably the worst of the regulars, but sometimes I get lucky hits, which
Damage
makes it
might
a little bit tricky.
Against me, huh?
with that thing when you get going.
Yeah. Sometimes I get lucky, but
Sometimes I get lucky, just like fucking 300,000 damage.
Yeah, actually, that's a good defensive spot to start with against a rogue there, Arnar.
I
Because
don't,
they'll
is
strike to
it?
get
I
behind
don't
you and
know.
fall right off, probably. Whoops.
I've
And then
got the
they'll be
high
striking
ground.
this brick and not you. Yeah.
I'm doing an Obi-Wan Kenobi. I
I
have the high
always had
ground.
like a problem in PvP of running out of stamina.
Um, are they
Okay.
using an empty stamina drain ward? There is
No,
such a
they
thing,
don't. No,
I'm
they don't
told
have
that
the
it's
stamina
not
drain.
recommended in
Yeah, as I swing here, do I hit
PvPs,
you?
Yeah, you don't
but there
use
are.
drains in PvP. That's literally the most hated item of all time when you look at this game's history. Like, there's no other single item that got more hate than stamina and AP drains did. It was it was so hated that a long time ago, a lot of the big PvP guilds actually banned it for their members, which actually led to them kind of doing a little crusade where they managed to make it so basically almost nobody was still using drains. There's like only like 3 people at any given time for years that actually would dare to try to use them.
Yeah, I actually used drains back in the day. I don't know when, but at some point. Because I got so sick and tired of how they I think it was the extremely tanky fighters or whatever. Just, they just have so much shield and you just can't get through it.
Yeah.
And then they just sit behind their shield and then they just fucking one-shot you. Well, not one-shot you, but use like a couple encounters and they're dead. Oh well.
Like drains and in general, they work better on shielding classes than they do on DPS classes. Like that's documented from the past. I can remember that a little bit, where they gave you kind of an unfair advantage against the shielding classes, but at the same time, there have been, like Module 19, for example, fighters were overpowered, and they still are. Like that hasn't really changed. And when like if you use drains against fighters, then especially the stamina one, that can make the difference between making them killable and them being impossible for certain classes to kill. The problem is it's just not worth it. It worsens the conditions in PvP too much, and it punishes everybody else too, because you're not only going to be hitting the fighter.
Yeah, true.
Okay, is there anyone else who wanted to fight me?
Yeah, I can give it a shot again.
Oh, you
Who's,
wanted to try me first?
whatever his name is. He's not in the voice chat though.
No.
He'd like to.
Like, I'm sorry, I'm terrible with voices in general, but it's even worse when I haven't heard them much before. Who is talking?
I am Emilio is talking right now, so
Okay.
the Cruz Tiffalax, who the barbarian guy, he's not in the voice chat. Maybe he'd like to. I don't know.
He saw the message where I was spamming it in PvP training sessions, so I'm assuming he didn't want to come.
That's a fun little thing that barbarians break increases the mount size as well.
Are there any classes that you guys wanted to know more about how to fight? Like, what to do?
Control. Okay, control resistance. How much should I spec? Um, what that's what really kills me at the moment, and I'm just wondering what level of that do I need to. I don't know, not be caught for more than a second. I
I don't
guess.
really know for control resistance. It's not normal for PvP builds to stack that, to be honest. Like,
Right.
there are... Some people will have a little bit, but most of the time your resistance to control is coming from kind of outplaying people, like improvising when you can, where you can, like you want to try to avoid getting locked down in a CC, and there's some things you can do for that. But
Oh.
right now the CCs are just kind of long, and if you get locked down, you're just gonna get killed from without being able to really do anything.
Oh. Okay.
But there are some things you can do. Like, there are some CC breaking items like Bat Swarm, and you can also counter with your own CCs to interrupt them so they have a harder time killing you. And you
Oh,
can...
I didn't notice that. The releases. Does bats release me from most? I never.
Fuck, yeah, I
Honestly,
forgot
I
that.
never noticed that.
I didn't remember that either.
Yeah, Bat
Okay,
Swarm
I'm
releases
putting
you...
that on.
Yeah, and there's also an artifact that used to be popular on Warlocks back in the day. I've not seen anybody try to do this in a long time because there's better options. But if you're really desperate to get out of more CCs, Ugama's Token of Free Movement is a ridiculously strong immunity CC releasing artifact. Like, that's so strong that even Courage Breaker, like, it even removes the slow from Courage Breaker.
What's Courage Breaker? Is that a power?
That's a rogue power that was well known for saying in the tooltip that you basically can't remove it until it'll just have to run out. Like, it has a really strong slow effect of 70%, and it lasts around 8 seconds, I believe. And that power was pretty well known back in the day for basically being a guaranteed CC effect. But Ugma Token of Free Movement, that actually breaks through Courage Breaker. It actually removes the slow from Courage Breaker. It's one of the only things that does that. So I'll link the Ugma's token so you can see what it does. Now, to be clear, I don't actually recommend this artifact. Gon's Anvil is definitely better, but Ugma's token is a CC break, so if you wanted to add more of them, then there you go. But in general with CCs, you just kind of outplay people. That's mostly what you can do about it. Like, you can use your control effects to cut down on enemy CCs, you can try to jump
Yeah.
away, stuff like that.
Oh, it's for me, specifically on my side of the world, because I don't see a lot of things happening before they happen. So I'm usually in the middle of a situation, but before I realize there's something I need to do. Dodging things happening is a little bit out of my picture, unfortunately. So I just have to try to get out of situations rather than avoid them. Oops. Why, yes, the bat works. I can't believe it.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that as well. Although I did use it while CC it a couple times, I think. I just like looked, oh, I can use that. Oh, let's go.
That's really cool. I gotta
Yeah,
say.
it's forgot that it has that effect as well. You know.
Okay, let me try something. Oh, you guys go ahead. Getting rage. Oh, wow.
Enraged. Hmm. Yeah, Marigold, could you just like try using some atolls on me, please?
Sure.
I just wanna see something. 6. Yeah.
That dummy that sometimes comes out has a 5% chance to proc. Like, you can see it happen twice there, where I summoned a little mini version of me.
Uh-huh.
So if you see that, it's just a small feat.
Right.
The dummy. I don't see a dummy.
It was there twice, like it briefly came
Oh,
out 2 times there and Duelist flurried you.
Yeah.
Now that dummy has an HP bar of its own. It's kind of like bait and switch or other items that summon NPCs in that way, where it can actually block your attacks because you might target the dummy instead of me.
Kinda like the weapon sets. What was it? The Mirage? Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like Mirage clones, like pretty much exactly like that actually, just maybe a little less. I don't know, is it more or less HP? I can't. It seems like it's kind of a squishy dummy.
Just weird how like Vampire Embrace. I just I consume the curse as well. And only here for like 40k, right? Sometimes you see like I don't know, that was 60k, but still not too out of the ordinary. But sometimes you see like 200k heals or something. I
sorry,
don't
which
remember if
one?
that's only in PvE though. I think I've seen some pretty high heals from that in PvP as well.
Which
From which
item?
one?
The Vampire Embrace.
Oh, the
Oh,
encounter power. Yeah, that's part of what makes Warlock one of the better dueling classes. Like, they have self-healing, they're kind of tanky, and they can maintain pressure against their opponent nearly constantly. So that's what makes, like, that's kind of one of the advantages Warlock has over a lot of the other classes. Like, there are some stronger classes at 1 versus 1ing though. Like, I'd say Warlock would be at a disadvantage versus a Wizard, and they would also be at a major disadvantage versus a Fighter, if I had to guess. Fighter's kind of the king of 1 versus 1s. They just win the most 1 versus 1s. They have the best tools for it.
Yeah.
Now, Warlock, like I mentioned, that class has the advantage against Warlock and Ranger. Like, it can basically hard counter those classes. Again, that's because of their 1 versus 1 kind of specialization.
Yeah.
Ranger is terrible in 1 versus 1. Like, either they kill the person really fast or they're just dead, essentially. And Rogue has some decent 1 versus 1 tools left over from their past, but they're still not good for it in practice right now. We're one of the worst 1 versus 1 classes.
Alright.
So that's and Rogue also runs out of stuff on top of that. Like, at least the Ranger can pressure you. Like, they can keep attacking back. At least in like, they will still run out of HP way faster than you, and you can knock them over and stuff and just hard counter them that way. But the Rogue, like I said, is going to run out of stuff. So they have to retreat, or try to, and then they have to come back when their stuff is ready. They can't just fight out in the open for a long period of time unless they've got really badass self-healing stuff on. Like, let's say they were using lingering medicine or something broken that's normally banned, like rejuvenating favor. Like, that would be the scenario where a rogue can temporarily fight out in the open against you. But even then, they're still only going to do damage that is significant when they have Death Strike, Assassinate, or a daily. Like, they don't really kill you otherwise. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Now, you're fighting a Barbarian from what I can see right now. Like, Barbarian is very similar to Rogue in terms of like Barbarian also runs out of stuff and doesn't really have much to hit you with in the meantime.
They seem to have all the long cooldowns as
Yeah,
well.
that's part of it. And
How's your soul puppet healing up?
Soul Puppet. Every time I like use Encount power, it heals the pool. So don't even bother trying to kill it, I guess.
now another thing with Barbarian to know is that while they are very similar in terms of they're very similar to Rogue in terms of how they work. Same way of dealing damage. They have a cooldown period where they just can't really hit you with a lot. And they probably need to run away and come back if they're squishy. But Barbarian is almost always, on PC at least, tankier than Rogue is. So they have a little bit better odds of surviving a 1 versus 1 long enough to kill you. But
Yep.
they also don't have as much CC as a Rogue does. So they are, I'd argue, a little bit less useful in that regard than a Rogue is. Like, they don't have Smoke Bomb, they don't have Dazing Strike, they don't have Skullcracker, but they do have some little CCs attached to some of their powers.
Hang on, let me take off Providence and stuff. I have a lot of team powers. And weapons, if you want to do 1v1.
Providence actually works for yourself too, if I remember right. Like, the
Yes,
heal
it
applies
does.
to you.
Yeah, whole party. Oh, so good in DOT's situations in Reaper's Challenge and apparently Crown of Keldagorn as well.
So, who had wanted to fight me, or was that what you were asking?
Oh shit. Oh. I can do it. Just give me a moment to revive the. There we go.
Now, some other facts that all of you might benefit from is knowing just some basic 1 versus 1 etiquette. Like, some of the things that people do for 1 versus 1s tends to be they almost always fight on a node if they're trying to kind of psychologically make sure people don't wander all over the map. They usually also wait, like, whenever a duel ends, like, you wait for the other person to regenerate their HP before you start another duel. Like, that's pretty important. Like, you never want to just run into a duel without your full HP.
Yep.
And generally, both participants would type R in the chat, assuming they're not on Discord, or they would just say they're ready if they're on Discord before starting.
Yep.
And generally, duels do not wait for your healing potions to come back. They don't wait the 2 minutes. So you don't want to spend your healing potion in between duels. And I mean the personal ones, like the PvP healing potions that you can equip. You don't want to spend those in between your duels. You want to save those for the actual fights. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if, like, action points also can make a significant difference in whether or not classes are fairly matched with each other in a 1 versus 1. Like, if you have one person with an envenomed storyteller's journal and the other person does not have that, and let's say the person with the envenomed storyteller's journal has a really strong daily power, like Rogue, for example, then that's gonna be a significant advantage against somebody who doesn't have those things. Does that make sense? So
Yep.
sometimes you want to try to match your artifacts or something like that. Now, the other thing you also want to do is not just HP, but you also want to make sure both people's stamina is full, usually. That's usually not paid attention to as closely, though. And with 1 versus 1s, you usually want to fight the same class person multiple times. Like, I'd say do like a 1 hour session or a 2 hour session once a week for 3 weeks, and that will make a significant difference in how well you guys perform, because you've had time to warm up to each other, readjust to each other several times, and you basically have started a mini arms race where you're both improving from it. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So that's what I would recommend if you want to get the most out of 1 versus 1ing people and actually improve significantly. You want to fight the same person multiple times, and you usually want to do it for 1 or 2 hours at a time. And that also gives you a better sample size of the a better sample size for whether or not you guys are winning against each other the right amount of times for those classes. Like, some classes just have certain advantages against each other that will make it so some classes, when played at the same skill level as another class, will simply win more times than the other class will. And you want to kind of get each other up to that point where that looks correct. Like, for example, a rogue will typically lose against a warlock, like, anywhere from like 1 to 3, where the rogue wins 1 time and the warlock wins 3 times. Or depending on what items it is, it could also be as bad as the rogue could lose 22 times for every 1 time for every 1 time they kill the warlock. Like, that's one of the that's something that you see when we don't use all of the broken items.
Yeah.
Like, obviously the broken items aren't worth it because they make conditions miserable in PvP, but technically they do make they do make 1 versus 1s more even, more balanced in that way, where the opponents will be more evenly matched. They'll win, like, instead of it being a really extreme number like 22 to 1, it could be 3 to 1. But the downside is the fights are so ridiculously cheesy and lame that it's not really worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, Anemia, did you want to fight me, or did someone else want to fight me?
Yep, that was me. You ready?
Ready.
Right, let's go. Holy shit.
Now, right about here, I would have chased me, just for future reference. Like, if you chased me when I retreated there, you probably would have killed me.
Yeah, it was very low, so I was kinda...
Yeah, I was saying, is it
Good
0
about
hit
it.
points, only had the shield.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the thing. You need to remember that if the rogue is running away from you to hide, that means they're out of stuff unless they're trying to bluff you. And most of them will not try to bluff you. They're just not at that point yet. They're not smart enough to do that yet. So if you see a rogue running away from you and they've just spent their big stuff, and you're at low HP, you can actually call the bluff and force them onto the defense. Like, you can call the bluff and force the rogue onto the defensive, and just run up to them and just keep wailing on them until they're dead. Like, if they're running away from you to hide behind something, they're probably vulnerable. They're probably out of stuff to hit you with. So even if you're kind of low on HP, as long as you're not as long as you're not super, super low, you can take the risk, is what I'm saying. Like, unless you're like 1 or 2 glowing cuts away from dying or something, you can run after the rogue usually.
Back here I have pretty much the shield from Consummable of Creation, and that's pretty much it. Not much else left on my health bar after that daily.
My point being is, if you chase the rogue and you're at low HP, you're gonna scare the rogue. They're gonna be on the defensive. Very good chance they don't think to turn around and hit you because they're too busy trying to run away and get their stealth back and get their encounters back. So you can basically bluff them. Like, you can take a risk essentially, and the risk will probably pay off against most rogues.
Yep.
And you're tanky enough that, like, if you've got your God's Anvil ready, or you definitely you'll almost certainly survive that, because I've noticed that the God's Anvil especially makes it so that you can keep trying to kill somebody that's at low HP and they just don't fucking die.
Yeah, do you want to give it another go?
Huh?
Do you want to go what we won again?
Sure. Yeah, just for
Right.
future reference, if you see me running, you should probably chase. Now, I would know how to attack you back, like, I know when to do that, but I'm also not fighting at max capacity right now, so, like, I'm trying to kind of mimic a little bit more what an average rogue would do.
Right.
Ready?
Oh, yep, I'm ready.
good. Like, you did good there. Like, you didn't quite have enough damage to kill me there, but that was correct. Like, you chased me at the right moment when I didn't have anything ready and was basically out of stamina.
Yeah.
Bob, do you want to try again?
Okay. There's a lot of stuff to pay attention to at the same time.
It's getting
Ready.
quite late, so I think
Ready.
I shall be going. I have something up in about an hour. I need to take care of something before that as well.
When you get caught in smoke bomb, Bob, the best thing to do is to run in a single direction until you're not dazed anymore. Like, that's also really useful if you cannot see the smoke bomb, because it has that bug.
Yeah. I said something's getting me though.
That's a DOT. Like, that's probably Toxic Blades that was hitting you there. I've been noticing that Toxic Blades is hitting really, really hard this module, in part because of the item level increase. And that's something you can do to me as well, especially once you've got your stats and builds sorted out.
Yeah. Let's see.
Now, something I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually release my full build in video form within the next couple of days, and that's gonna include a lot of fighting tips as well, so I'd be on the watch for that. I'll definitely put it in the channel for you as well.
Okay.
Whew, goddamn.
Okay, Aprida, I just saw your message and answered it. I don't know if you're still there or not. I'm not watching the chat as closely as I normally would. I've got a lot
Yeah,
of
as I
stuff I'm
said,
doing at the same time.
I shall be going. It's late, and I have something coming up rather soon.
All right.
Now, are there any other questions you guys had?
Thank you very much for making these possible, and you know, good luck and good farewell to your next destination.
Yes.
If you do happen to be thinking about playing a Lost Ark, by the way, we have a guild we set up on the Carter server. It's called Neverwinter Pirates. So
Something those lines.
please do join us there if that's the direction you want to be going. We'd be very, very happy to have you as part of our alliance.
Yeah, I might not remember that. You might want to send that to me. Like, if there's something you want to send me, send it to me over private message in Discord. That's the best way to make sure I see it.
Yeah. Okay. Sure. But just in case. It's yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you
you.
for making this.
Now, as a
I have
quick...
a long way to go ahead of me. There's so much upgrades to do.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope this class came out clear. Like, I didn't really have a coherent plan for it. I just wanted to get some people in to practice one versus oneing and explain essentially what you need to do. But there's a lot of big gear gaps I'm noticing that's going to make it hard to just outright do a class on just having people fight each other alone, because the gaps are big enough that it's not always productive to do that.
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah.
the gaps are too large, then it just is super discouraging for whoever had the short end of the stick there.
Yeah. I think, Neverwinter is a very, very long game. It's a very, very long term kind of game, and there's been so many changes recently. We're just basically just trying to keep up at the moment.
yeah, I mean, I don't know why, but they just seem to love reworking Neverwinter for some reason. Always
It,
something changing, some big changes every year, do they pretty much.
it's not bad though. I mean, I feel like I'm playing a new game every time, and I don't know. I don't know what it's like for other
there's positives and negatives to everything.
Yeah. I mean, this is only the first ground-based MMO I've ever played, so um, I don't know what it's like in other games yet. I say this now, but
Yeah, you shall see if you keep playing the Lost Ark, yeah?
well, I mean, it's one of those things. I can't even play it legally, so to speak, because I'm in the wrong country. So I don't know how much effort I'm gonna put into that.
Yeah, I mean,
I
I
can't
have...
even buy stuff.
Now, guys, just to, like, a lot of what I taught you today appears in other places that I've released content for. Like, if you look at my YouTube channel, which you can find in the training text channel inside your Discord, like in Pirate Codes Alliance Discord, I've been leaving
Yes.
links to my videos in there. And so you could use any one of those links to access the whole channel and just browse whatever videos on PvP topics suit your fancy.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot of stuff from these classes in there. Like, I tried to put everything I could think of that I covered in the first class into a video, so people like like so there's actually a record of it and people can watch it as many times as they want. Now, there's a domination guide, like there's actually a 55-minute guide in that YouTube channel on how to essentially play domination PvP, and it has a lot of detailed information in it. So, very good watch if you're looking to improve in PvP. And also, if you want to pick up more 1 versus 1 tricks, I also did a guide to go with that other one on specifically 1 versus 1ing that explains pretty much everything I went over today. And that one's 28 minutes, I'm pretty sure. It's like labeled how to maximize improvement from 1 versus 1s or something like that. So if you want to practice what you learned today and also reinforce that information by watching that video, that would be what I would recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank
So
you.
technically there
Yes.
was 30 more minutes to this class, but it looks like everybody needs to go.
Yeah. Got another event.
Okay. Thank you all for coming, and I hope you guys were able to learn something from this.
Oh,
Yeah, very
sure.
helpful. Thank you.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, been trying to keep all the guidelines in mind since the last time you did the training session here.
Yeah,
I
and
think the Alliance games have become dramatically more dangerous ever since you did that lesson. I'll say that.
I'm glad people were able to absorb it. Like, the big problem with me teaching live classes is that I talk in a way that is not always easy to understand. Like, I go in circles a lot. I jump from one subject to the next and then back again a lot, and that's kind of confusing, right? So that's part of why I did those videos too, is because I wanted it scripted so that I'm not all over the place and it's easier to understand and digest.
It kind of works actually because there's so many things that work at the same time, which is probably why you have to look at so many issues that don't seem initially related at the same time. Like a lot of what you talk about is a psychology of how the teams work together and keeping pressure and things like that. And that's not something that shows up in a numbers build.
Yeah, I'm just happy people were able to absorb it. Like, I was a bit worried about this class, to be honest, because I did not come in with a plan.
It's okay. We're just happy to have you here, really.
Yeah, and I'm not done releasing videos. There'll be a few more before I leave coming out. So if you want to look for those too, then there'll be somewhere around 15 or so videos on the Lasting Knowledge series in total, I'm pretty sure, somewhere around that number. Not all of them being released, I mean total, when all of them are finished coming out. And there's also the older ones from the Nuts and Bolts series that was on specifically individual build components. Anyway, guys, I'll let you go.
Yes.
All right.
Alrighty. Well, good
Thank you
night
so
to
much.
all.
And have a good weekend.
And yeah.
And
Have a nice
and I'll send you a message maybe later on about what I was talking about. Oh well.
Yeah, if you guys want to ask me questions via Discord, feel free.
Okay. All
Or if
right.
you want
Okay.
to mention something that you were trying to tell me earlier, like, again, private
Yeah.
message over Discord, best way to contact me.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
Yep,
See you
thank
guys
you.
later, and thank you for coming.
Have a
All
good
right.
day. Bye bye.